Hello everyone, welcome back. We're going to talk about what are the essential information you should be including in the results and discussion sections, and what are some of the points that you should look out for. So the results section needs to answer the question of what you found. Now this is actually one of the most straightforward section to write. So usually most people would already have some sort of a draft even before they embark on writing the whole manuscript. But that doesn't mean that you can just include everything. We need to think about it. Remember, I brought in a point before about logically organizing your ideas. So this is where it comes into play, because you don't just put in all your results and expect the reviewers or the readers to pick out the most important one. It's your role, it's your duty to present them in a logical flow. If you have group and subgroups, then you will want to go with the bigger sample, and then you describe the smaller samples. The same goes for analyses. First, you talk about one variable, and you talk about 2 and 3 and so on and so forth. So you guide the reader along. So for the results, so because it can get a little bit chunky and lengthy, so you are allowed to have subsections. But please remember, for each subsection, do give it a title. And if you want to have figures and tables to support your findings or to describe your findings, then one figure corresponds to one result and one table corresponds to one result. Just like that. Do not try to cram too many results into one figure. You will only confuse and lose your reader. Now, one very important point to bear in mind when you're writing the result section is that you only give a factual description of what you found and not what it means. You don't interpret your results, you don't discuss your results, because that is reserved for the next section that we're going to talk about, which is the discussion section. Now, remember when we were talking about how to craft the introduction section, I asked of you to imagine in your head an inverted triangle. But for the discussion, in this case, please imagine a triangle with the tip right at the top. Why do I say that? Now, because the discussion, the structure of the discussion section is the complete opposite of that of the introduction, which means that you basically start with specific information and you open up the discussion to a broad information base. All right, so just like a triangle. Why do I say that? How does it work? Because the introduction is what most people find difficult to start. Okay, so you have your introduction, you talk about the background, what has been done, what has not been done, you describe your methods, you describe your results, and then you come to the introduction. What do? You're sitting there drawing a blank. Now, don't worry. So use that triangle as a model, follow that. At the tip of the triangle, which means at the start of your discussion, you give a summary of your findings. You don't need the exact stats or figures or numbers again, but basically just present a summary of your most important findings. And then you would go down the triangle, which is basically crafting your discussion. Following it is that you will talk about your studies, your findings, what you have found, and compare them with previous studies. Are the results similar? Are the results different? Any unexpected or negative results? And again, like I said before, you also need to include the limitations of your studies, because no study is flawless or perfect. If it is, then it's unrealistic and you're not going to convince the reviewers to actually accept your paper. So then finally, you will conclude, and that will bring you to the broad base of the triangle. So think about it. At the top of the triangle is specific, so you talk about your current study, which is a summary of your findings. Then you go down to the middle, which is a comparison of your findings with those of previous studies. And then you talk about the future study, okay, how your results could open up a door or pave the way for further studies. So essentially, It goes from current study to previous studies to future studies and implications. So from specific at the tip of the triangle to general at the base of the triangle.